All right. We start with prayer and we pray. Surely I am being turned to thee, O Allah, being upright to he who originated the heavens and the earth, and I am not of the polytheists. Surely my prayer, my sacrifice, my life, and my death are all for Allah, the Lord of the worlds. No associate has he, and this is my commandment. I am of those who submit. O Allah, thou art the king, and there is no God but thee. Thou art my Lord, and I am thy servant. I've been greatly unjust to myself, and I confess my faults. So grant me protection against my faults, O Allah, for none grants protection against faults except thee. And turn away from me the evil and indecent morals, for none turns from me the evil and indecent morals but thee. But guide me, O Allah, to the best of morals, for none guides to the best of morals but thee. O Allah, bless Muhammad and the followers of Muhammad, as thou didst bless Abraham and the followers of Abraham, and make Muhammad and the followers of Muhammad successful, as thou didst make Abraham and the followers of Abraham successful, for surely thou art praised and magnified in our midst. And O Allah, we beseech your aid, guidance, and protection, your mercy and your forgiveness. We seek refuge in thee from the accursed Satan, from the reactive mind, and we invoke your spirit, your healing, your reality, your love, your peace, your happiness, your knowledge, wisdom, and understanding on this session this evening as we come together in your name to praise you, to acknowledge the wonderful gifts that you have bestowed upon us. All of these things we ask you, O Allah, in the name of your servants, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Ameen. Praise be to Allah. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah and that Muhammad is the messenger of Allah. And would like to greet my dear beloved brothers and sisters in the nations, greetings of peace and paradise. Assalamu alaikum and Ramadan Mubarak.
Ramadan Kareem.
Okay, so we are on part 12. All right, 12 down and what? 18 to go. We're getting closer to that half point, that halfway point. And it's certainly been Ramadan is always good. And by Allah, I'm feeling it this month, and hopefully so are you. So we will go ahead on part 12 today. And Ayat 7, and he it is who created the heavens and the earth in 6 periods, and his throne of power is ever on water, that he might manifest the good qualities in you. Whoever of you is best in deeds, and if thou sayest, you shall surely be raised up after death, those who disbelieve say, this is nothing but clear deceit. And if we delay for them the chastisement for a stated period, they will certainly say, what prevents it? Now surely on the day it will come to them, and it will not be averted from them. And that which they scoffed at will beset them. I wanted to comment on those verses first. I actually did flag some of the subsequent verses, but I was thinking about the whole thing of when he's talking about the throne of power, that Allah's throne of power is ever on water. And I remember some months ago, maybe even years ago, Sister Jacqueline had asked a question to that inquiring about the meaning of that, of the throne of power is on water, that he might manifest good qualities in you. And so when I think about, you remember that, Sister Jacqueline? You're muted.
Yes, sir. When I read it, that's exactly what I thought about. About what, 3, 4 years ago? It's been that long?
It's been at least a couple of years, I would
Yes,
think.
sir. Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
And so, because we were talking about that when we clear words.
Mm-hmm.
See, so when we clear words, we try to in STW we try to observe the principles of the Scientology clearing of words, but then we have another kind of clearing as well that comes from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the Honorable Mr. Louis Farrakhan. He talks about the significance of knowledge. He said the knowledge is the water represents the knowledge and the wisdom of God. When he talks about uh, uh, in the very first final call, when he was talking about, I'm a Christian, I'm a Baptist, and I'm a Methodist, and I'm a Jehovah's Witness. One of the things he used to say back during that day, he would talk about how he said, when he say I'm a Baptist, he said, why, how can I say that I'm a Muslim and I'm Baptist? He said, it's because I've been baptized. And he said, baptized, when you look at the word baptized, it means immerse, and immerse uh, uh, in baptism, you immerse the person into the water, and so he says that water is to the body as wisdom is to the mind. See? And so when you immerse yourself into the wisdom, then you are baptized. That is the true baptism, is the immersion of the mind, or immersion of the soul into the wisdom of God. And the throne of power, we uh, we said, and of course, we take all of this with a grain of salt. It's just really more for your consideration, is that the throne of power has to do with wisdom itself, or it is the perspective of wisdom. As a throne is a seat that is normally raised. And even it talks about when the kingdom of heaven, when we are granted, inshallah, if Allah grants us entry into the kingdom of heaven, that he said that we will be sitting on raised couches. And so it is a perspective. The perspective of wisdom is a perspective of looking down, because as you look down, if you look down on a forest, you have a more comprehensive understanding of what is actually happening in the forest. As the minister talks about in Closing the Gap, he talks about the eagle's eye, the eagle's perspective, because the eagle is, he's up, and then he sees everything that's going on in the forest, as opposed to somebody that's walking on the ground that can only have the perspective of the thing that is immediately in front of him. So these are things that we can consider in this particular ayat. And then when you go down to 8, it says, and if we delay for them the chastisement for a stated period, they will certainly say, what prevents it? I thought you were going to do something. I'm just, a little modern translation here. And I remember I did that with my dad at one time, and I was not happy with the outcome. And so it says, surely on the day it will come to them, it will not be averted. And what that makes me think about is that what the old folks say. Maybe I need to stop saying old folks because I guess I'm talking about myself, but I ain't talking about myself. But I'm beginning to think about myself when I say, oh. so maybe you all can audit that out of me, you know. But anyway, when our elders, so I said those who are older than me, used to tell me, you know, they say what goes around comes around. See? And so we find that once you begin to when you engage with the physical universe, you know, we was talking the other day about how when you have a belief or you have the thought, or you have a thought, a belief is a thought. And actually, when you look at belief is sort of like a progressive thought that the thing that makes it come into fruition is that you start working the belief. So that means when you start having the belief, and then when the belief starts out really basically at or near tone 40, and then when you start working the belief, well then now you encounter the counter thoughts or the counter efforts, you know, of working it. And oftentimes you encounter the physical universe, in which in the physical universe itself, it causes what we call in auditing, in Scientology auditing, it's called a calm lag, you see. And that's why we were saying, we were talking about one day, you may remember, we were saying that if thought travels 24 billion miles a second, how long would a thought take to go from one end of the universe 78 quintillion miles? How long would it take for it to go from one end of the universe to the other? See? And then so we were I think that was something like 350 years or something like that. That was the answer. And anyway, that's a long time. At 24, if it's just 24 billion miles a second, and then you got to travel 7 to 8 quintillion, you know, you're talking about some years before the thought can get to the other side of the universe. And then I guess that's where the static comes in, or the properties of the static, you know, having no mass, having no wavelength, you know, having no location, you see. And so since it doesn't, but it is still able to actually process and think and postulate, you can overcome the calm lag of the universe, you see, by your thought. And so this is the thing that really throws a lot of people off, because they do things, or we do things, and there is no immediate uh, repercussion. We don't see the repercussion right then, and then we sort of get it allows the seed to germinate sometimes, that ain't nothing gonna happen. You know what I mean? If I go up to somebody and they and slap them, if they don't slap me right back, I might get the idea that I got away with that, you know. And then that takes you to a whole nother thing that that Mr. Hubbard was talking about. I believe it was in Milestone 1, where he talks about obsession, the whole thing of obsession. Anyway, we kind of, I'm not saying we're deviating or nothing, because all of these things are very important for us to understand. Because when you start talking about obsession, you get into a very interesting reactive aspect of your mind, or really of your nature. You start talking about obsession, and Mr. Hubbard gives us a definition wherein he says that obsession is like this: if you go up to somebody, and then I never will forget, this is one of the things that actually gave me a degree of certainty that Islam was indeed the right religion, because brother, the minister was saying, he said that what we learn in Christianity is really against our nature. He said it's against your nature to turn the other cheek.
Mm-hmm.
See? And so Mr. Hubbard, and so I said, man, that's right. He said, your nature tell you somebody go up and knock you upside the head. You have the impulse to knock them right back upside the head. You know what I mean? But see, since and so when you analyze it right there, but it's still gonna take a little while. I mean, once they hit you, then you in the physical universe, you don't instantaneously the same second, hit them back. There's a little bit of a calm lag there. And then calm lag which means the time that it takes for the idea or the exchange to happen in a communication from one terminal of the communication to the next terminal of the communication. And so I know we kind of digging deep in here, but I just have to go where I'm going. And so Mr. Hubbard says that when somebody hits you, say if somebody was to hit you, he said, then your impulse is to hit them back, but not only to hit them back, to hit them back a little bit harder than they hit you. If you ever was in a fight as a child, when somebody hits you, then you always hit them back a little bit harder. And then when you hit them, when they hit you back again, they hit you back harder. And so the whole thing, what it does, eventually it escalates into a full-fledged fight. And so that's, one of the principles in the Quran. It says that in retaliation, there is life for you. He said, but if you forgive and amend, it is better for you. See? So that sort of helps to organize you. It makes you a civilized person. It brings you on a higher level of thinking. It gives you management over a natural tendency. The Quran said, he said, if you forgive and amend, it's better for you. Because otherwise, it's going to escalate to the point where somebody gonna die. It's gonna be some ultimate bad situations here. So it's definitely a reality. It's part of the infrastructure of the universe. And see, this is what we are doing with supreme wisdom and supreme technology, plus supreme technology, STW, all of this stuff that we're doing. We are trying to explore the unseen. Unseen just means that you don't see it. It doesn't mean that it's not there. It doesn't mean that it cannot be evaluated. You know, it's just like electricity. You cannot see electricity, but you can evaluate it. You know, I think you was talking about Brother Lukman last Sunday. You was talking about, I, I believe, we talking so much during this month, but I think he was talking about Ohm's law. See, it's a law of resistance, you see. And see, you can see that, you can evaluate these things without seeing them. You understand what I'm saying? Based on other phenomena, you see, which goes to show how Allah is one and how in his creation, everything is connected. Okay. All right. So I didn't definitely didn't intend on going that far with that one. But that's some good fun. Those are some good fundamental nuggets that we can, install into our database that give us a more intelligent, finer gradient evaluation, and that's really what that's what intelligence is about, is to be able to recognize and see, some of the finer aspects of of life, of phenomena. Were you about to say
Brother
something?
Patine.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, yes, sir. You were going to mention obsession. You were going to say something about obsession.
Yes, ma'am. Actually, I did. Actually, that's what I was saying. The obsession is the example. When I gave the example of when like if somebody hits you and then you hit them back a little bit harder, and then they hit you back a little bit more harder, and then the thing keeps on escalating. The factor in that action is obsession.
Okay, thank you, sir.
According to Mr. Hubbard. But I can't remember exactly which course it was. I believe it was Milestone 1, or it might be the Route to Infinity. I'm not really sure, but we'll try to find it. I did notice that Sister Belinda had put this thing on closing the gap, page 321. I do want to go back and check that out too, because that's one of I'm just saying that stuff is just plain out deep to me. I mean, I had to put my hard hat diving suit on for that one. When he talks about, can you read the passage for us, Belinda?
Start on 320.
Just start where it where you when the eagle sees more. Maybe you might want to back up a sentence or two before that.
Okay, so this is what the believers need to do. We need to feed on him in our hearts. We need to feed on his word in our hearts. We need to take the word as the central food to make a God. And don't add cheap food to good food. The more you feed on the pure essence of the revealed word of God, the faster you rise into him. Need I say more? Then Brother Jabril says, that's it. That's the whole article. Then Minister Farrakhan says, could only be because I fed on something that caused me to rise above their level of scholarship, not in arrogance, but the eagle sees more than a dove. The eagle sees more than a sparrow, and the eagle certainly sees more than the beast and the snake.
Praise be to Allah. Yeah, so like he was saying, that is the essence of wisdom. Is the perspective. He said, don't add cheap food to good food. So like if you used to eating good food, then you got a whole different perspective on food. You know what I mean? You don't eat how to eat to live, and then you go somewhere and start eating that what we used to call a greasy spoon somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
See, especially when you understand what you're doing, and the wisdom, we were given the supreme wisdom. We wasn't given the supreme nothing. We wasn't given the supreme knowledge. We wasn't given the supreme understanding. He especially gave us supreme wisdom, because wisdom contains the essence. So that means when you boil everything down, you got the essence. You got everything you need to make something. If you got the essence of lemon, you can use the essence of lemon instead of a lemon, instead of the whole lemon, because the essence of lemon is got what makes lemon lemon in it. I hope I didn't cloud that up with that definition. But before we go on, did that answer your question, Sister Tina? Are you good with that, or we need to go a little further into that?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you so much. I'm good.
Okay, alhamdulillah.
Yeah, it's just that's totally different definition of obsession. Yeah.
Yeah, well, like I say, but when you look at it, see, that's a very wise definition. And I believe if you look into that definition deep enough, you will find whatever definition that you got. You will at least find something that will remind you that is tied to that. You know, I'm obsessed.
Okay.
I'm obsessed. You say I'm obsessed with something. That means I got to do it. You know, I'm obsessed with flowers. I mean, I gotta have a lot of flowers, or whatever the case may be. And so what I'm saying is the essence of obsession is the compulsion factor.
That makes sense.
Yeah, you understand? Okay, yeah. You just you compel, you just feel compelled, to do this or that. And like I said, that's why it says that in retaliation, there's life for you. And so the compulsion to retaliate, that unleashes an impulse. So, see, when you start talking about these words, compulse, and you got impulse. The word impulse is there too. So you have this compulsion, because you've been hit, so it's saying in retaliation, there is life, because what does it do? It relieves that compulsion. He said, however, it is better that you forgive and amend. Okay, so you go to ayat 9, and if we make man taste mercy from us, then withdraw it from him, he is surely despairing, ungrateful, excuse me. And if we make him taste a favor after distress has afflicted him, he says the evils are gone away from me. Certainly he is exultant, boastful, except those who are patient and do good. For them is forgiveness and a great reward. So that just made me think right there when you said that I guess when you do something and when you do things, you have in mind what the consequences are. you do something bad, you have in mind what the consequences of doing this particular thing is, and you expect it. Then if it don't happen, then maybe you say, well, maybe it's not gonna happen. And that's why I want you to just kind of think, just marinate a little bit on this idea of calm lag. Calm lag, is I gave a good definition earlier. I don't know if it was one of them off the cuff definitions, but it is, see if I can say it again. It's because you can get the recording too, but it's like the time that it takes for the exchange of communication between two terminals, and that's one of the things that they use in Scientology, that if you order the thing till there's no com lag, until, and then we just talked about how the physical universe sometimes is like mass. If it has to pass through mass, then the com lag is greater. But when you are communicating, when the exchange is on the level of thought, then there is virtually no com lag. So when you ask this person a question, you got him on the meter, and then the meter is falling, and then or it's rising, and then you keep on. Then the when you keep on asking him a certain question, and then when he begins to ask it, and then there's no movement on the meter, or you on the needle, or a better way to judge that really is that if I ask you a question and then it takes you a second to answer, and then so I keep on asking you the question until you just answer it almost instantaneously, then the com lag is gone, and then that's when the auditor knows, even without a meter, that he can go on to the next thing on his list. Okay. All right. So let's go. Yeah. So thank you, Belinda. Let's go through that, because this may be com lag and obsession day. Okay. So you got obsession, a persistent, disturbing preoccupation with an often unreasonable idea or feeling. Okay. I assume that's from the Tech Dictionary, right?
Com lag is obsession. Just from regular dictionary. I can go look for it.
Yeah, and that's the reason I had brought up that course. And I think I think that was one of the main things that I had gotten from that course was the thing of obsession. That, man, I never will forget. I was listening to the lecture. I was on my way to work, and that thing just, I can remember for the day I was listening to, and he was talking about that, and I was saying, oh man, that is just deep, because all of that stuff is in the Quran. Obsession, all of these things. This is the thing that we're talking. This is the unseen. See, a lot of what the Quran will tell you, the Quran will give you these scenarios, which oftentimes they surface scenarios. I know this is not to degrade it or nothing like that, but it gives you the scenario on the surface. Now we have the cliche that we say that a hint to the wise is sufficient. Hold for 1 second. I want to get this light out of my face.
Too much vitamin D.
Now I'm getting, I can't, I can't, you know, it's this, the light is just kind of distracting to me. Yeah. I just get, I get vitamin D on a gradient scale. Miss Smarty Pants. Anyway, Brother Luke, please go ahead, brother.
Well, no, you had mentioned the use of mass in speaking about comm lag. When you look at the human heart and how the human heart actually does a heartbeat, it's actually different degrees of comm lag that determine the different levels of heart disease. When there's no comm lag, you have these two bundles of nerve tissue in the heart that communicate back and forth. One sends the signal to the other, and the other one actually causes the heartbeat. When there's no comm lag, that's a natural heartbeat. That's that sign you see where it goes boom, 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 boom. That's comm lag. But when you interpret that heartbeat, when you look at when someone does an EKG, when there's comm lag between those signals, that's how you determine what type of heart disease the person has. It's based if you look at comm lag. So if there's a communication lag that's just a little bit too long, that's called a first degree heart block. Then if it goes a little further, you start skipping beats. It's like if you receive a signal and you hear and you obey. That's comm lag. But you know, sometimes as when we were children, our parents would tell us something, and then we wouldn't get up and do it right away. The same thing happens in the heart. That's the beginning of heart disease. That's called a first degree block. Sometimes our parents would have to tell us more than once before we go do it. So then eventually there's no communication between these two things. The comm lag is way out of sync. And that's what
gets wider and wider.
It gets wider and wider. And then what happens is this one thing is sending a signal and this thing is doing its own thing over here. So the comm lag has just totally gone crazy. And that's when a person's actually in cardiac arrest. It's based on comm lag.
That's right. It's not, that's right. It's not because it stopped. It ain't no communication, you know.
Right.
Yes, sir. Yeah. So that's one. Allah is one, you know, and if we understand certain things on certain levels, that's why I tell a lot of my students, you know, I say, man, you're learning a whole lot more than a couple of notes, you know, if you take this thing serious. You know, but then again, but the teacher has to have, well, I don't say he has to have, but it's better if the teacher has the proper intent when he's teaching.
Yes.
See? Because even if your intention, the body of your, or the properties of your intention goes over the current level of the student, it still reaches him somewhere. It's settling down somewhere. It is part of that facsimile. And see, one thing you can understand, and it's become more and more evident to me in recent years, is that, see, sometimes you can be talking to people that's really, you have your intentions and your frame of mind is all about love and brotherhood, freedom, justice, and equality. And so oftentimes that's all you see, because that's what your intent is. That's what you are projecting. But then when you come back and you revisit that particular incident where you are in communication with someone, sometimes you can detect shade that you were not able to detect when you were actually talking to this particular person, you see. And it's it's just a fascinating thing, you know, when you understand the mind, what the mind is doing in some of the natural sequences that are taking place in a conversation or in an interaction or in a communication. You see, when you break, like I said, you break communication all the way down, and then like in the text, it said, you know, communication is intent, you know, intent over a distance, and you know, if I intend to send you something, to exchange something with you, an idea, whatever. So I intend to do that. And then so for you to get it, you have to have attention, you know, to get it exactly like I want it. You have to have attention in order for it to land on you, you know, over a distance. So I'm just saying you got that definition, and then you've got to me, the most basic of definitions of communication, which is exchange between two terminals. See, so that, you know, that covers everything. See, that's the eagle's eye. That's the Sister Jacqueline. That's from the throne. When you start talking about just simply exchange between two terminals, because see, that's covering everything there. You see. But that's another thing too that I want to get into at some point is the communication, because communication is just so important. And Mr. Hubbard says in the I don't know if it's in the first academy level of auditing, he was saying that you could go clear just on communication. Just understand, you know, just understand the communication. That's one route to clear there. And I believe it's Dianetics 55. Yeah. Dianetics 55. And you could probably see the complete manual of human communication. And communication is, I mean, that's serious stuff, you know, and that's one of the things that one of the tools that we can incorporate in making our postulates manifest. One of the things that I got out of a postulate seminar that I went to at the church's Scientology. Matter of fact, it's the best seminar I ever went to. It might be other than the Nation of Islam. It was a postulate seminar, and what it was saying, one of the things that you have to do to make postulates manifest is that you have to communicate with it. So when we understand all aspects and the deeper aspects of communication, it is very helpful to us in solving all our problems. And as Mr. Hubbard said, you know, man, you can get clear. And I know brother Clinton was been into that Dianetics 55 a little bit too. So, all right.
He said you can get clear on communication. Or?
Alone, yeah.
Okay.
Just with, I guess, the mastery of communication. And so he says, so he said, this is the complete manual. Well, he's kind of strong when he said that's the complete manual of human communication, you know. So I take his word with a grain of salt. We know it's always something beyond, you know, ain't nothing complete. It's not complete until it's ended. A complete a complete cycle of action to start, change, and stop. So until it's stopped, till all of this stuff is stopped, it ain't complete ultimately. But I understand what he's saying. He's saying this, it passes a threshold test, And so that's why, because a lot of people are getting hung up. We've had several people who've come in our group that they really have gotten hung up on this absolute thinking, thinking in absolute, but I'm sure that's what Mr. Hubbard is, what he means when he said a complete manual. And it not necessarily that it is totally complete, but it's enough stuff in there for you to master communication with. How about that? Just like what Brother Ishmael was saying when he said that the messenger said that God don't necessarily know everything, but he know everything he need to know to be God. All right. And when you say everything, he's got complete knowledge of everything. No, don't have that. Don't need it. Don't need to know everything. Especially when that's what he created some of us for. Or he created all of us for. That we can cover him, but he just, before Allah can put himself into us, see, he can't go into no unclean places. So he's admonishing us to clean yourself up. So I can come in. Once you clean yourself up, man, I ain't coming in no stink places. I ain't coming in no places that, that are undesirable. Give me something that I desire. So that's why you need to understand with a greater certainty what is the desire of Allah. When you do that, then you can prepare your temple, and that the Almighty God will dwell in your temple and transform you into himself. Communication lag, the length of time intervening between the asking of the question by the auditor. See, the definition I gave was a little bit more fundamental, but it's the same thing. Between the asking of the question by the auditor and the reply to that specific question by the preclear. So when the auditor asks you a question, if it's taking you a little while to answer the question, then you're not really in present time. You're indicating to him that your bank is active. See, and that there's still mass. See, there's mass between your mind and the auditor's mind. There's still mass, so you got a lag there. You're still wading through some muddy water. But once you recount the incident enough to where there's no lag, then that's an indication, you follow what I'm saying, that you have dealt with that. And that's why he said too, after there's no lag, then that's time to move on. So we can do auditing. We don't have to have an e-meter. The e-meter helps you to save time because you can get a visual as to what's going on with the PC. If he's thinking about something that has charge, because he's sitting up here, you auditing and you talk to him about certain things, and then all of a sudden the needle jumps, and then you say, well, wow, what caused that? Because obviously you have stumbled upon something that's bothering the PC, something that created some mental mass that inevitably would create a lag. Okay, the question must be precise. The reply must be precisely to that question. It does not matter what intervenes in the time between the asking of the question and the receipt of the answer. The pre-clear may outflow, jabber, discuss, pause, hedge, disperse, dither, or be silent. No matter what he does or how he does it, between the asking of the question and the giving of the answer, the time is the communication lag. The near answer, a guessing answer, an undecided answer are like imprecise answers and are not adequate responses to the question. You get the idea. You got the chat. And of course, if you're on a PC, the only thing you need to do to get the chat is right click, and then you'll get a little thing that says select all, and then you can select all, and it will, and when you select it all, then you copy it, and to copy it, you hit the Control CTRL, Control C, and then you can go to your word processor, which could be Microsoft Word or could be Notepad, anything that you can paste, and then Control V. Or you can right click, and then you can see the options of copy, paste, cut. All right. All right, everybody all right?
Yes, sir.
Well, we ain't getting nowhere today. We just barely made it to first base, but boy, that was a pretty strong hit into the outfield. All right. So here we go. So here we go, riding the stairway to heaven. That's what we're doing. Stairway to heaven. Okay. So let's go to ayat number 49. Anybody like to read ayat number 49?
We're trying to get there. Give us a second.
You want to read, Sister Belinda?
Yeah, go ahead. I'm still trying to get there.
You got it, Sister Jacqueline?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead on and read the ayat number 49, please, ma'am.
These are announcements relating to the unseen which we reveal to thee. Thou didst not know them, neither thou nor thy people before this. So be patient. Surely the good end is for the dutiful.
Okay. So he says, and this goes back to a point that I was making earlier, but he said, these announcements relating to the unseen, which we reveal to thee. Announcements that relate to the the undependent, to the hidden reality. It's hidden, but it's there. You know, it's just as much there as if you could really see it, but everybody is not able to comprehend. See? And so that's what I was been telling you about yourself, all of you. See, you've come forth, and the fact that you have come forth, it points to another level or gradient, in my opinion, of belief. And then we said belief really translates into light. Belief is a high quality thought. It is a progressive thought. It's a thought that is feeding on knowledge that has been acquired. Belief is a thought that is in the process of calculating to achieve certainty. See, these are announcements relating to the unseen, which we reveal to thee. So we are seeing now, we're able to, that which is unseen. It's unseen to the average person. What we're talking about in STW is unseen. They know about it because it's there. But Allah is giving us some, on a certain level, on a lower level, some revelation about that which many people can't see. How many people can talk about obsession? And I would have never thought about it like I'm thinking about it if I hadn't taken that course. So now I took the course, and then as I'm taking the course, now I'm the infrastructure of retaliation and all of this different thing. Now it's revealed. Now I understand something about the underpinning, the structure, the infrastructure of my nature. I'm understanding something about, see, a lot of people can understand compulsion. But then when you go deeper and you ask yourself, what causes you? What causes something? What causes you to be compelled? And of course, you can just go deeper and deeper. And like the minister said, you can peel the onion back. Then you can peel the next layer of skin of the onion. Then you can keep on pulling it back and back. So every time you you peel the onion, the skin of the onion back, what are you? It is revealing something that is unseen. The infrastructure of your nature. What is the infrastructure? It's an underlying base or foundation. It is the essence. It's what makes you, you're beginning to explore your essence. And see, when you begin to think about it, when you begin to meditate on it, on that particular level, then your understanding, your knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of yourself becomes more thorough. Ain't that beautiful? Okay. And so I see Belinda put the obsession definition from the tech dictionary. So he's just returning motion on something where he's had too much motion thrown at him on this subject. That's an obsession. And that's all an obsession is just bouncing back the motion which has been bounced at him. So you can see, hopefully you can see what I say, see that definition in my explanation of what obsession is. You bounce back the motion, retaliation. You bouncing back, you know what I mean? You bouncing back the motion, which was bounced at you. That's retaliation. And so he's just returning motion on something where he's had too much motion. So when too much motion comes to you, then there's a tendency for you to give them back too much. And that's why it says, even in the Quran, it says that when the retaliation is the like of what has been done to you. In the Old Testament, it says an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. So that is a law that governs obsession. You see, we all deep, man. We all deep in the cheese now. You start talking about what's going on, the natural flows that are taking place within us, how due to our nature, these things, these compulsions are organized, and how they can get out of line, and how they can destroy us. But if you are able to control them, see, whoever forgives and amends, he said, it's better for you. Then I believe maybe the theta mess theory comes in then. Or maybe even that could be a tiara. Tiara 1. That means if it don't cause you to run away, that you can still be there. When I first started studying this, I was actually 19 years old when I first started studying this kind of stuff. I used to have this little saying, don't let your ego run away with you. And so when I think about it, what I was dealing with was tiara number 1. Be there. Said, look, man, I'm telling my bandmates, be there. Be there for me. Don't let your ego run away with you. Now that was a cognition. Y'all witnessed that cognition right on the spot there. All praises are due to Allah. Anybody got anything to say about that? Man, that's a mouthful there, boy. Not my mouth, that's the mouth of Allah. I do believe.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, dear beloved brother.
I was doing some work on the outside. The rain chased me in, but I just want to say I bear witness, brother. I'm to what you said about belief that's translate into knowledge, and really, that is one of the things that really kept me in the struggle of this nation, because I was understanding a lot of things, but some things I just didn't comprehend. But I heard the Honorable Mr. Farrakhan said, if you don't understand, just believe, and the understanding will come.
Yes, sir.
And I stuck it out, and by the grace of Allah, I'm happy that I did.
Yes, sir. Praise be to Allah. And that's wonderful. It's wonderful that you shared that bit of wisdom from the minister, and it lines up perfectly with what we saying. We said that in the STW cycle of action is belief, faith, and understanding. So if you don't so So if you don't understand, then that means that you're not at that point in the cycle of action. See, you know, that you go back to believe. You just continue to believe. And the more you believe, see, the activity, it is a thought that spurns activity. And then once your reality, once you get enough reality where you can start working based on this belief, this work brings you to the point of understanding. So if you don't understand, just believe. See? And then the more you believe being a active and progressive gradient of knowledge, thought, it spurns, you know, the nature of your mind causes you to prove. And once you prove, your proof is through working that particular thing. And if it works, in the working of this particular thing, you get understanding. And that's what Sister Denise was saying. She was asking about how do you know? You know, because it works. How do you know that Allah, you know, visited us? Because what he gave us works. That's the best proof. You know, it works. It's an amazing grace that saved a wretch like me that once was blind, but now I see. Okay. "52, and oh, my people, ask forgiveness of your Lord, then turn to him. He will send on you clouds, pouring down abundance of rain, and add strength to your strength, and turn not back guilty." And so I look at that as just being another admonition for us to clean ourselves up. See, when we ask forgiveness earnestly, when we ask forgiveness with sincerity, you know, this is a desire and inshallah an effort for us to clean ourselves up. See, when you clean yourself up, then Allah can and will dwell in you. And this is one of the reasons why the minister warned us who embrace this tech or this body of knowledge from Mr. Hubbard. He said, make sure that you got your ethics in. Because as the Bible says, you cannot put new wine into old bottles. When you want to put paint on a piece of wood, what do you do with the wood first? You sand the wood. You sand the wood, you clean the wood. In some cases, you wash the wood so that the paint will bond more completely with the wood. So the wood being you and I, the sandpaper meaning us going through the trials and as ising, confronting our weaknesses and our faults. When we as is, that's just like putting the sandpaper on ourselves. We cleaning out all of the crud and the mud and the undesirable condition of the wood. So we sand it that way. And once it's sanded, we apply ethics. When you apply ethics, ethics is the highest level of thought. So that means you got that thing sanded all pretty now. And then once you get to that point, then Allah can lay that divine paint or varnish or shellac on top of you, and it acts as a protection. It acts as a beautification. All right. "56. Surely I put my trust in Allah, my Lord and your Lord. There is no living creature, but he grasps it by its forelock. Surely my Lord is on the right path." So that goes back to show that Allah is not negligent of any creature. So if it has life, it actually has a part of Allah in it. And it is in a process of evolution. That's what I believe. I believe that everything is evolving. Everything, everyone is evolving. It's getting better because everything is under the magnetic field of Allah himself. Some of his creation is more in alignment with this magnetic pattern than others. Some of the thoughts created by his people are more congruent or in sync with the magnetism of divine thought than others. And this is what renders our power, and if not our power individually, it renders our value to Allah. Allah loves those of us who surrender. See, when you and I surrender to him, then we open ourselves up to flow, to enter the flow, to be controlled by the flow of the divine magnetic reality. That's why this day have I perfected for you Islam. See, and Muhammad just came out with it clearly. You know, Islam, the entire submission to the will of God. When you submit yourself entirely, then you allow Allah to take control of the particles of magnetism that emanate to and from you, and take control of the soul. And that's why it says the righteous, the soul of the righteous, returns to Allah. That's a natural thing. So he got it rigged like that. Because you're already vibrating in harmony with him. So when the soul leaves the body, the magnetism, there's natural magnetism. And I believe recognition from Allah. But I guess I'm trying to see things in as much as possible from a scientific standpoint. From, as you say, as you brought out, Brother Lukeman, from the numbers, I'm looking at the numbers. I want to get numb to the fact that, oh, I just want to be with you, Allah. I want to get numb to the purely emotional, the mushy part. Even though I can appreciate the mushy, I get mushy when it comes to Allah. Sometimes myself. But I really can appreciate it when I can just see the numbers. See, when I can have a measurement where the God says work is force times distance. So if I got enough force, then I'm going to create a distance. But he gives you a threshold, because whenever you put some kind of effort, there's some kind of distance that's gonna take place. Maybe it may be negative, but he said, work so that your work be seen by Allah, the messenger, and the believers. So he's defining a threshold. You don't just go and just push one or two little things and say, well, I did work. I made an effort. No. He said, work so that your work be seen. Not the Negro kind of work. You know how Negroes are. Negroes, they call you up and call you up on the phone, and then you don't answer. So the objective is to talk to you on the phone, but they call you and they don't get you. So they say, well, I tried. Okay. Anybody? I'll go to 75. And I thought this was very interesting. He says that surely Abraham was forbearing, tenderhearted, oft returning to Allah. So that's saying to me that if you was returned to, if I returned to Allah, that means I went somewhere else. That means that he was the man that had a heart after God. He was the friend of God. But even Abraham might have had some moments where he wasn't all the way. In other words, he wasn't our version of perfect, that he did everything 100% right, or 100% correct, 100% righteous. But he was above a certain threshold, and he often returned. So if he returned, then that meant he went somewhere else. Now where he went, I ain't gonna say, but I just thought that was interesting.
That's talking about how he was pleading for Lot's people. So he was pleading for some wrongdoing. So he had to return. If you read the ayats before that.
Yeah. I don't know if that's got anything to do with my point. Can you tell me what it was? Maybe you can explain a little bit more to me.
It talks about so when in 74, so when fear departed from Abraham, and good news came to him, he began to plead with us for Lot's people.
Okay.
But Lot's people were the ones who we know were
like homosexual.
Exactly. So it talked about how he asked him not to. The God was asking him not to plead for the wrongdoers. I'm trying to find the actual ayat.
Okay, all right, I got you now. I think I'm understanding what you're saying now. But what I'm saying, and I agree with you. I agree with you. I can certainly see that. But I think I don't know if that is just exclusively talking about the previous verse. To me, when he said off returning to Allah, to me that is a little bit more of a general statement. But right. I can see it in the context of which you speak.
Right. I took that as one of the examples of why he would have to return.
Right. That's good. I never thought of that. Go ahead.
It kind of brought to me, not that you pull that up, but about seeing that returning was from the situation with Hagar, and when Hagar needed help and he had to put her out,
right?
Or when Sarah put her out, and his house was where help could have come from, but she wasn't getting any help at all, even though it was Allah's will for that. But as we looked at it today, we saw the same thing coming up in I wouldn't say Muhammad's life. I said most humble Elijah Muhammad's domestic life. I mean, I could be wrong, but that's
Oh yeah. Well, see, that's the thing. That's the thing. When we and this is part of the thinking pattern that I like to attack when we think that some of us can get to the point where we think that and even as the Quran points out, it says that the messengers ate food. Some people, they look at the apostles and the words of God, it's just something different than themselves, and that they have frailties as well. And I just, the minister had to kind of implore upon me that he was not absolutely perfect. When in a conversation I had with him, he chided me. He said, why you acting like that? Why you acting like you intimidated? He hit me upside the head with that, and I said, well, I said, brother minister, I am intimidated.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
He said, no, don't you be intimidated with me. He said, man, I can make mistakes, and I'm paraphrasing, I can make a mistake and I can be corrected just like you. And when he said that, the way he said that with me, he unleashed the beast. It's true though. It's true, because right after that, I wrote him a letter, and then the next time I saw him, and I said, "Brother Minister, did you get my letter?" He said, "Yeah, the one you was talking about, where you was talking about so and so and so." I said, "Yes, sir." And man, he said, "I don't want to talk about that now." He looked at me, man, the way he looked at me, I could have jumped off a cliff and felt better.
Man, you had some close encounter with a minister, Brother Jim.
Well, see, I was in the beginning, brother. See, I was in the beginning. You know, I kind of, got pushed aside, but I ain't really aside, because I'm not aside now. I'm not aside from you. See, Allah got something. He got something for me to do. He got something for each and every one of us to do. See, so yeah, I got a couple of beautiful war stories, and I got one or two war stories where the minister bull baited me, and then I wasn't even aware of it. I wasn't even aware of that until I started studying this. And I was, oh man, that's what the minister was trying to do. And then I looked at it and I felt good about it myself, because I'm like, he throw you a curve. He throw you this doggone curve, and then see the Negro in you will say, man, what are you talking about? So and so and so. And up to this point, I ain't ready to pull no Gatorade like they do when they celebrate. I'm not gonna celebrate no victory, because I know it's still some little Negroes running around in my head too. The jinn, see the jinn, you know that the jinn is a Negro? Hey, this is revelation, y'all. Y'all heard it here first. The jinn is a Negro. we have revealed the true nature of the jinn right here today. And he's a Negro. He's dead to the knowledge of self. He's contra self. He's against your survival. That's why he's dead. He's not live. Life. Jesus came that we have life more abundant. See. That's talking about he who whispers into the heart of men. That's Negro.
Pardon me, beloved. I'm using my phone. Battery running low. I either have to go plug up or.
Oh, that's all right. That's all right. We getting ready. We getting ready to land this plane. We not. This is Ramadan. Ain't no need us talking our heads off every day. Because if you notice, every day, you get a little bit of lag from the next day. When you at least with me anyway. If I'm talking like this every day. And I was, and I've told you, and I was telling Brother Luke, man, so when we get through with these sessions, man, I get some of the best sleep I ever had in my life.